So the brand new wave of Marvel Legends that start making its way out to fans, and all of these are nice. There's some team fillers, but there's one figure above all the others that means so much to me that I might stop collecting Marvel Legends.
It's morphin' time!
Hello, this is Soundout here, and today's video is not about the box wave of Marvel Legends, because I really just want to talk about the Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider figure. Because for me, as a Marvel Legends collector and a Marvel Comics reader, this figure means more to me than any of these others, and I want to discuss that. That's what the point of this video is. This video, of course, is titled The Last Marvel Legend I Ever Need. It's not that I'm ever going to stop buying Marvel Legends. I mean, there's still plenty of X-Men characters I want and some teams to finish, but if the line were to end tomorrow, I'm happy. I've got everything I want. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about Ghost Rider and why that's so important to me. And I guess I'll also give some quick thoughts on the rest of them, because it's kind of mean just to put them up here to be like, you don't matter as much as this, but it's true. This was a case of I had this wave pre-ordered and then another retailer got it earlier and I was like, oh, and then I just reordered it because I wanted him. And then I was like, well, I need Psylocke and Wolverine for some X-Men shorts I'm doing. So, you know, I was like, well, let's just get the whole wave. But yes, let's discuss why this is so important to me. If you enjoy videos like this, hit the like button, hit subscribe, the notification bell. If you haven't already, hit the hype button if it's available to you. All those things help the channel grow and continue to do awesome things. This is going to be a little bit different of a video, but I really wanted to talk about this. And also for those that have followed my live streams and are on my Discord server, which you can join in the link below, you guys know that I've been yapping and yelling about this figure for so long. And so we're going to go through the history. We're going to go through the history of this guy. But first, let me give you a little thoughts on this wave a little quick. Okay, so of the wave, we've got Ultimate Wolverine from 6160, which is not like the first character I would have picked from 6160, the new Ultimate Universe, because it's kind of the most boring comic. But as a figure, he's fine. He's mostly kind of a standard Wolverine body, just painted up nice. He's got the mask. I do wish he had an unmasked head, but that may have been a little too close to production from when it was in the comics. He's got those new style claws, which are nice. He does have boot swivels, so that's pretty cool. That breaks a trend. But yeah, otherwise, kind of standard figure. We got Lady Deadpool. I mean, we've had Lady Deadpool before, but this is on the modern style body that was introduced with Black Widow, where she's got the crunch at the waist and then the upper torso ball joint. Otherwise, pretty cool, though. She doesn't have any sheaths for her sword. I don't know if that's technically something that Lady Deadpool has. It's just weird to me, because like pretty much every other Deadpool has it. And her hair is not articulated. It's just kind of there in that dramatic action pose, but otherwise pretty solid. Let's see, Dark Avengers Hawkeye, which is Bullseye in disguise. Surprisingly, I thought this was just going to be the same like mold and parts reuse from the classic Hawkeye, but it's actually a lot different. The skirt piece is different. I mean, the boots are kind of the same. The legs we've seen them before. These arms feel new. And he's actually got a really cool like hinge swivel butterfly joint, which I think is nice. And I do like his head sculpt. It definitely looks like Bullseye, not just Hawkeye. U.S. Agent, ForceWorks version. He's kind of a standard body mold. I think he's using a slight variation of the Gamerverse Captain America, which works for me. I think that works quite well. He doesn't have a port in his back, so you can't plug the shield back there because it's an energy shield, so you wouldn't have to. But otherwise, I think this body type for super soldiers works pretty good. I think it's a good size. It's a little bit bigger than the standard, but not like gigantic, so works for me. We've got Outback Psylocke, who is another member of the Outback era X-Men team. We're getting closer. She's pretty solid, though she does have some stability issues because her cape is really hefty, so she kind of has a tendency to fall backward on it. Also, her torso is fully sculpted with the armor, but she only has the upper diaphragm joint, so no crunch and no additional waist joint. I'm assuming that's a budget thing because this is like a uniquely sculpted torso. Otherwise, it's in the armament. You also can't get the butterfly super close to her face because this is the same butterfly effect that came with the Gamerverse one, and it doesn't fit as nicely because it was sculpted for another head. And then her hand options are limited to just the standard open and fists that every female Marvel Legend figure gets. But otherwise, pretty good. And then lastly, kind of I think the most exciting for me in terms of the wave that's not Ghost Rider, even though I do like the Psylocke a lot, Marina was kind of like, you know, I'm not a super huge Alpha Flight fan. I've read some Alpha Flight. I follow them in crossovers. But when we got like the Alpha Flight box set and we got the Guardian figure and Sasquatch, I was like, okay, but isn't there like a weird green fish girl? Yeah, there's Marina. So we've been waiting for Marina since like 2018. So it's nice to finally get her. And then surprisingly, the Build-A-Figure was Box, who is also an Alpha Flight character. And so now we've got kind of what I would consider the last two classic Alpha Flight characters. Because we had basically the base roster, and then these two came in later. And so these two are kind of rounding out the classic team. I'm not sure if we're missing anybody else, because, again, I haven't read super deep into Alpha Flight. But it's nice to finish a team of mutant characters. It makes me happy. And both of these are nice. Marina's got the same thing with Psylocke, though, where she's got kind of a uniquely sculpted torso. So that's it. You just get the upper diaphragm. You don't get anything lower. All right, I have yapped about stuff that's not Ghost Rider. Let's talk about Ghost Rider. So our story begins 2015-ish with comic books, because where else do things begin with me a lot is comic books. So starting off, for me as a comic book reader, I was pretty much a DC guy for the longest time. I was pretty much DC only for several years. When I really started getting into comics, having a pull box and all that, I started to explore some other options. And one of the first things that I decided to go with for Marvel was Ghost Rider. Before we get to this, just Ghost Rider in general, for me, when I was looking at like Marvel, I was like, what can Marvel offer me that DC can't? And DC doesn't really have anything like Ghost Rider. You know, DC has, you know, like Marvel, like the Avengers, that's a superhero team of existing characters. And like everybody's different, and I've become a big Marvel fan since. But the first thing that got me into reading Marvel was Ghost Rider. And it was Johnny Blaze and Danny Ketch, the two most famous Ghost Riders. But then around 2014, 2015, decided to check out all new Ghost Rider. What caught my attention about this was you had a Ghost Rider with a car, which I thought was interesting, and then his overall look was different. But I was just, at that point, I was just reading any Ghost Rider I could. But the thing is that when I read Felipe Smith and Trad Moore's All New Ghost Rider Volume 1, I became an instant fan of Robbie Reyes, of Ghost Rider. And over time, I have solidified that not only is he my favorite Ghost Rider, but he's also probably my favorite Marvel character of all time. It is a very tough debate, because Marvel, of course, has characters like Storm and Nightcrawler and others that I love. But I always keep coming back to this character and this comic, as this is probably my favorite Marvel comic I've ever read. And for anyone that follows the channel and has looked at the comic hauls and other videos, I have read a lot of Marvel comics. And every couple years, I go back and read this, and I'm like, yeah, that's still my favorite Marvel comic. So I wanted to kind of discuss why, right? Because this is not a long-running series. It only went 12 issues, right? So for brief history, it went 12 issues. And then it was ended because the Marvel Now era was ended, and we had Secret Wars came up. And so in Secret Wars, there was the Ghost Racer series, which was on Battle World, and it was all the Ghost Riders in a death race, which was freaking amazing. Absolutely love that. And so I didn't really continue the story too much, but then post-Secret Wars, they relaunched the book as Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider. And then this book ended after only 5 issues, and issue 6 was solicited, so it was a sales problem. And I don't know if the sales problem was that, you know, it is Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider's not canonically. Traditionally, Ghost Rider's not a heavy seller. But I do think that there was a little bit of disconnect from the original run, for 2 reasons. First of all, it's called Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider, and it does focus on Robbie Reyes as Ghost Rider. But most of the first issue is not about Ghost Rider, but setting up a superhero team of Hulk, X-23 Wolverine, Laura Kinney Wolverine, and Silk. And so basically the whole idea here is that, you know, eventually these 4 become a team. And it's Ghost Rider, Robbie Reyes, it's Amadeus Cho Hulk, it's Cindy Moon Silk, and it's Laura Kinney Wolverine. It's a take on the new Fantastic Four from the 90s, which is fun. I think that's cool to have here's the modern legacy versions of the 4 characters that were a replacement Fantastic Four. The problem I found with the book is that because we've only had 12 issues of Robbie Reyes focus prior to this, because I don't include Ghost Racers, that's technically an alternate universe, the character, you know, was already becoming a teen book. And then I think for a lot of people, that may have been why the sales dropped off. And also, I'm going to say, no disrespect to the artist on this book, which is Daniela Beyruth. Great artist, right? Great artist overall. I mean, you look through the book, it's good art. That's not a problem. It's just that you're coming off of the first arc having Trad Moore, which has this very hyper-stylized, very dynamic art style. And then in Volume 2, we got a new artist with Damian Scott for the first few issues, which has its own unique kind of more manga-inspired art style, I'd say. And then Felipe Smith does the last couple issues of the series, and he has his own style that's very unique and distinctive. And then again, no shade to Beyruth, but this is kind of more of a traditional Marvel house style. This is kind of like, this looks like the other Marvel books at the time, not so much the way that and even Ghost Racers, I think with Juan Gideon, had its own unique style. Like, I think that it's kind of neat that every volume of Ghost Rider looked different, but familiar, whereas this looked kind of standard. But yeah, so the unfortunate part is that we never got a solo book with him again. Going from this, he joined the Avengers. That was the next step for Robbie Reyes, as Jason Aaron said, all right, I'm doing Avengers. I want Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider. Love the character. I don't want to shade anything to Jason Aaron, but I did not like his Avengers run. In a whole, a lot of people didn't either. I think someone called it the pamphlet of the Marvel Universe, because that's what it felt like. It just felt like it was advertising other things. It didn't have its own story. And then he put, as a big crux of the story, was that Robbie Reyes was going to be very important to the big Avengers Forever multiverse crossover. And in one way, that's great. Because it's like, okay, the character's now an A-lister in status. He's big Avengers event character. Unfortunately, after that arc ended, they left the character in a literal void for years, and he only just got out just in time for the most recent Ghost Rider book, Spirits of Violence, to get canceled. But at least he's out there and can be used in other stories. But the problem I had with Jason Aaron's run on Avengers when it came to Robbie Reyes is that the thing I loved about this comic is completely ignored in the Avengers comic. It wasn't a problem early on, but it was this thing about this book that I love, and it's very emblematic of the first issue, because a lot of characters in Marvel, because Marvel is built around teams like the Fantastic Four or Spider-Man, right? Like, those are characters. The Fantastic Four are given cosmic powers and they become heroes. Spider-Man, his Uncle Ben put in him, with great power comes great responsibility, and so he feels a need to do that and to be a hero. With Robbie Reyes, his needs in life are simple, and that is that his little brother Gabriel is his entire life. He is the one person he cares about. He is basically nothing else going on. And so his brother's beat up at school, and he's always trying to deal with it, but he's never able to make ends meet. They live in East Los Angeles. They don't have opportunities, so even though Robbie's going to school and working as an auto mechanic, he's doing street racing just to get enough money. But he also has the thrill of street racing. But as he's like doing illegal street racing, he's considering the consequences for his brother. Not so much the consequences for himself, but his brother. And it's very selfless in that. And then in this thing is he makes a mistake with the wrong guys and he gets killed. But then he's brought back to life by the spirit of vengeance and becomes the new Ghost Rider. And then from there, there's a story arc about how there's drugs that are tearing apart the neighborhood and everything. And there's a lot of great discussion about, poor neighborhoods and how they're ravaged by drugs. But you have Robbie who's like, I don't want to be this grand savior. I just want to protect my brother. Meanwhile, he has an evil spirit, which is not the same spirit of vengeance that Johnny Blaze and Danny Ketch have. But this evil spirit is telling him, oh, no, we need to go kill the bad guys. You got to feed my bloodlust or I'm going to take over your body. And Robbie's like, I don't really want to do this, but if this will protect my brother, I'll do it. And so he starts to make deals with it. And so he works with the spirit, but his reluctance to listen to the spirit's demands does lead down a bad path. And it's very great comic writing because it feels, for a lot of people in the world, there's some people that are kind of called to that higher power to save the world, save the universe, do everything you can. But then there's some people that just want to protect their little slice of happiness because they're afraid of losing that, because if they lose that, they lose their humanity. And that's what this character is. And that's what I like about him, is in contrast to a lot of characters in Marvel, he is really just looking out to keep his little slice of the world safe. And I did like when he joined the Avengers, his initial thing was like, well, this will keep my brother safe. The Avengers are going to pay me, which means my brother can have a better life. We can take care of him. But then to kind of take the character and elevate him to a point where it's like, well, if he dies, the whole multiverse collapses. It just kind of goes against what the original book was talking about. And the original book saying that, yeah, it's okay if you just want to focus on your little part of the world that makes you happy and want to keep that safe. And so that's why this comic has resonated with me, because, I love wanting to save the world. And, I love the idea of let's be a superhero team. Let's go save everybody. But in a very real sense, the world can't always be like that. You can't always save everybody. And sometimes the best thing you can do is help the people around you. And that's what this book is. And that's what this book was about. And that's what resonates me about this character. He's also like one of the least selfish of the ghostwriters. The other ghostwriters, Johnny's trying to get free from the spirit of vengeance so he can have a normal life, and his decision caused pain and chaos for his family. And Danny Ketch is like, why do I have these powers? I want them gone. Robbie's like, I'm fine having these powers because it'll help me protect my brother, but I gotta have this spirit stop trying to antagonize me to doing things I don't want to do. But, and so that's the thing, is like, he's different from other ghostwriters, but he's still in line. He's still trying to have like a bit of redemption for kind of screwing up at the race and everything. And so for me, he's the ultimate embodiment of all the themes of ghostwriter characters past and future, while also being different and distinctive on his own. So for all that to be said, I love this character. I love this comic run. I wish that Marvel kept it in print, because outside of a complete collection that threw all this together, they haven't, which is a shame, because I think it's one of the best Marvel comics of the modern day, if ever. It's my favorite ever, but of the Marvel now and at present, this is one of the best books, and not a lot of people have read it, which led to his problem getting an action figure. So let's talk about where Robbie Reyes has shown up since, because Marvel loves their adapted media. All right, first of all, he appeared in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 4 as the major pivotal figure of the first arc of that season. Fantastic adaptation. They made some changes. He's definitely older than he was in the book. They did change the origin a little bit to include the original Johnny Blaze ghostwriter as part of it. I liked all that. It was faithful to the core of the character. He was still focused on his brother. And I really liked the adaptation. Really great visual effects work, especially for ABC at the time, and fantastic adaptation. Now, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. didn't get any toys, so there wasn't a chance for him to get a toy there. All right, his next major appearance was the Midnight Suns video game, one of my favorite Marvel games of all time. It's a turn-based tactical strategy RPG with relationship building elements. Because the thing that's interesting, the game was marketed as like, oh, look at this turn-based XCOM tactics game, but the majority of the game is actually relationship building. You build your own character in the game, and then you make friends, and you go to events, and you build friendship levels with all the other characters and the heroes. It's great. I loved it. I had such a great time, especially as a Marvel fan, because the people that wrote that game were true comic fans. Again, they made some slight changes to characters, and they made some slight changes where Robbie's Spirit of Vengeance, because the thing is, the reveal of what his Spirit of Vengeance is in the comics is very dark, and I'm not exactly sure if it could pass in a T-rated game. So they changed it slightly, and so it kind of works out, and I don't mind it. I thought the voice actor was great. I loved the character work. I thought it was really good. It was Robbie Reyes, ghostwriter, on a team that didn't feel like when he was on Avengers, where he just felt like a sub-in for somebody else. It felt like it was him distinctively. So the thing I loved about that game was I was like, this is great. He's in a lead role in the game. He's on the box art. He's going to get a Marvel Legends figure, because they do Marvel Legends figures for the video games. Well, unfortunately, the Square Enix Avengers game figures did really poorly, and so we didn't get anything, and the closest I got was this Funko Pop, which was one of two. They made Ghost Rider, and they made Iron Man in his Midnight armor, and that was it. And this was a limited edition to a Funko 2023, I think it was Comic-Con. But I was like, well, at least I got something. And so I was like, well, all right. So we missed the boat on Marvel Legends doing him for Midnight Suns. And I was like, well, all right, well, his profile's raised. He's been in a TV show. He's been in the MCU. He's been in a video game. Come on, can we get a figure? And then Hasbro announced the Engines of Vengeance Haslab for the Ghost Rider 50th anniversary. And I was so excited about this. I did a live reaction video, which I never do, to talk about it. I did a speculation video. and then the campaign went up, and I knew from day one it wasn't gonna make it. But I held in hope. I put in my back as soon as I could, but I knew that at $350 this was never gonna go. It was too much for a character that a majority of the Marvel Legends collecting audience, which tends to skew older as well as kind of more 80s, 90s than they do 2000s, 2010s. This just wasn't going to go. And then, to bring up old wounds, I do feel like the campaign got sabotaged a bit. I think the price was too much. It should have been $250, no more higher than that, because the campaign as it was going to be Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider plus his car. There was a early bird figure that they were going to include, which didn't make it, which was a civilian Robbie Reyes figure to drive the car. The car could swap out tires and flames and everything. It lit up and all that. The stretch goals were weird, and we'll talk about that in a moment, because they weren't anything related to Robbie. But the thing that I was frustrated by was I thought the price was too high. I think Hasbro was charging too much. And it was very frustrating. But the thing that annoyed me was the way the Marvel Legends fandom dissected this campaign in a way they didn't do the Sentinel or Galactus. With the Sentinel and Galactus, you didn't see videos talking about how it was a bad deal, didn't dissect the price points and compare it to other things. People just bought it, and then they were successful. With this one, it was like, oh, well, this figure's reusing parts from this, and this is this, and this is this, and oh, this company can make a car so much cheaper, why can't Hasbro? Forgetting all of the elements involved. Right? Like, just because Bratz can make a car for dolls at a cheap price point that doesn't look like anything doesn't mean that Hasbro can. They have to pay licensing fees to Marvel. Oh, why isn't it a licensed Dodge Charger? You were complaining about the price. Why would the price be lower if it was officially licensed? It was very frustrating because it was the campaign was torn apart and dissected by the core Marvel Legends fandom and people in the influencer spaces in a way that the previous campaigns weren't. And yes, this was not the best campaign. The price was too high, the stretch goals made no sense, and it was of a character that a lot of people were not familiar enough with to drop the money on. That is all factors as to why it failed. But there was another factor, is that it was torn apart by the fandom in a way that they did not tear apart Galactus, Sentinel, or the later Giant Man. That was the thing that annoyed me, is I was like, all right, I've seen, there's a ton of things to complain about with the previous campaigns, and yet, mostly crickets. But then when it came to this one, I was like, let's tear it apart. The level of vitriol that came out of people's response to that campaign was to the point of sending death threats to the designers. Like, they were the reason the price was that much. The other annoying part is that there's third-party companies that make vehicles. And the thing that irked me so bad was there was all these people yelling, we don't need Hasbro to make this. A third-party company can make that car cheaper. So no, the Ramen Racer, which is this third-party vehicle that looks like the Hell Charger, it was the exact same price that Hasbro was charging if you removed the figure cost. Because the Haslab was 4 figures factored into the price, 5 figures factored in the price even. If you remove the figure cost, the car was the exact same price from Ramen Toys to Hasbro. But yet so many people were like, oh, it's so much cheaper. And it's like, yeah, if you only want the car. For me, I don't want just a car. I want the Ghost Rider. So here's the thing that happened after that. Haslab failed. And at the time they said, if this Haslab fails, these figures will not come out in this form. And that was 100% true. Because we ended up getting all the figures anyways. So they were correct when they said, we're not going to see those same figures in the same form, and it would be years before we'd see them again. It was 100% true. First of all, the Goblin Queen. That's an X-Men character. Madeline Pryor, Jean Grey's clone. Why was she in a Ghost Rider Haslab? I don't know. Kind of felt like they were using the tiers of the Ghost Rider Haslab to partially sell it to the old school collectors, but also because they probably couldn't do her at retail in that costume. Well, we got her at retail in the X-Men 97 Goblin Queen. Is it the same figure? No. Is it the same costume? No. Is it the same character released in a different form? Yes, which is exactly what they said would happen. So there you go. We did finally get a Goblin Queen, but it is the X-Men 97 one. Will we see a comic one? Who knows? But at least we have a Goblin Queen. Now, I wasn't too frustrated that Goblin Queen came out before Robbie did. It's fine. It's part of X-Men 97, media tie-in. Why did we get Damon Hellstrom before Robbie Reyes? I like Damon Hellstrom, classic Marvel character. if I can get him to stand, because this figure has notoriously terrible, not flat feet. Yes, it's not the same figure. The figure from the Haslab was pinned. This one's pinless. It's very similar, but not the exact same. Again, not that prominent of a character. I think Ghost Rider is more prominent than Damon Hellstrom, but at least we got Damon Hellstrom. And then the big one, Mephisto, which was the one that a lot of people wanted to back the Haslab just for Mephisto because we were told you can't do him at retail. Well, they didn't do him at retail. They did him as a made-to-order figure, and I just got him in not that long ago, so timing on this video is excellent. The actual made-to-order figure is better than what the Haslab tier would have been, because that would have just been Mephisto. Here we got like a whole throne set up for him. He's got plastic and cloth cape and skirt. He's got a sword. He's got like a couple extra heads. Good stuff. Great figure. But the thing was, when they announced this last year, when they put the made-to-order up, because it was a limited window and stuff, I was like, man, how did we get all of the tiers regenerated, but not the Ghost Rider? So there I was, sitting in a car watching the Marvel Legends fan stream while I was driving off to a little mini vacation, and it finally happened. Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider got announced for Marvel Legends as part of the box wave. Slight side note, minor nitpick. He has a logo. You don't have to use the generic Marvel logo. Anyways, here he is, Ghost Rider Robbie Reyes. Used artwork from his run. Actually, it's not from his run. It's from the one-shot they did. Bio's mostly correct. He's part number 4 of the Build-A-Figure. I was going to get this whole wave because it's got enough stuff that works in my other collections, but this was all I actually really cared about. So this was a big deal for me. This was a big deal for me, and it's because I've wanted this figure to exist. I'm going to take all this stuff off for the moment. I've wanted this figure to exist for 12 years at this point, and it's basically the entire time since I've known the character. I've wanted an action figure of him. He's so cool. I love his design. I love the way it incorporates the old racing striped jacket. I love the skull that's, it's supposed to look like a blower, but the important part is that the promo images showed it silver, which is not, it's not silver, it's white, but it's white, so it's there. I kind of want to panel line it a little bit. I actually have a second one on the way, so I can actually panel line without worrying about it. But this is great. So compared to the Haslab figure, right? Compared to the proposed Haslab figure, to me it looks like it's about the same. I think they did have to change the head sculpt a bit because the Haslab figure was going to include a second hairpiece, so you could have the fire down and there was going to be a light in the back of the head that would come from the headrest of the car to light up the head, which is pretty cool, honestly. The funny part is that it does still include 2 of his weapons. He was going to come with several, because the thing with him, unlike other Ghost Riders use chains and stuff, he has like multiple different weapons, but a lot of them are like car tools. But here we got a crowbar, and we got whatever that is for car repair. I'm not a car repair guy. You can notice the holes in the bottom. That's because originally it was going to have a chain, so it's still the same molds for that. To sub in for his chain, they reused the part from Age of Apocalypse Wild Child, which is supposed to like wrap around Sabretooth's arm and then clip to Wild Child. So you can attach either of these to the little clip piece. This is a clever reuse. I think it works. It's nice and dynamic. I find that the crowbar kind of holds better. And then you can just have it like wrapped around his arm and you can throw it out. It works because you can't do every single weapon he's ever used in the comic because he's used a ton. He just comes up with weapons and all kinds of stuff. But hey, you know what? Ghost Rider's chains works for me. Right? I like it. It's nice and dynamic. In terms of hand options, he's got this open hand. He's got 2 holding hands, which will be important in a minute. And then he's got a fist, so kind of the standard lineup nowadays. And I love it. I don't really have complaints about the figure because it's exactly what I was looking for, which was the Ghost Rider. It was the Ghost Rider in a nice figure form. Now, I do want to address another complaint from the Haslab, which was that people were saying, oh, he's just reusing parts from Longshot. He's not a unique figure. He shouldn't be a Haslab. All right, well, first of all, Silver Surfer from Galactus came with the same damn surfboard that's been floating around since 2007. So it's not like Haslabs were 100% unique parts. Bastion and the Prime Sentinel pack-ins from the Sentinel also were reused. But yeah, let's address the Longshot reuse. You know what? Yeah, it is. Look at that. See the arms? That is the same sculpt on the arms, right? The shoulders down to the arms. Of course, the gloves are different. And then the legs, he's got different boots, luckily. But yeah, it does look like the same legs from the hip to the boot. the boot cut. But that does mean he does have a boot cut, which is not something that a lot of Marvel Legends molds have. If they're a unique mold they never plan to reuse, they don't tend to put a boot cut in there. I don't really find the boot cuts to be that useful most of the times. But yes, he does reuse the arms down to the wrists and the legs down to the boot from Longshot. So yeah, that was a valid complaint. So focus on those things. But it's a valid complaint, but I also don't mind it because really what's the point of casting a new tool for that? But again, it all goes back to the original problem of the price of the Haslab. So I'm happy with the figure. As is, out of the box, I'm happy. This is great. If you want a Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider figure, you're set. I do want to throw some more paint on that head. I'm not a customizer, but I do kind of want to panel line them, go from there. But again, I'm gonna have a second one coming, so I can do that. Now, here's of course the thing, right? He's just a standard figure, comes with a Build-A-Figure part, right? What about the car? Well, okay, Hasbro's like, well, maybe we'll work the car. No, they did a Haslab failed. We're not getting the car. So as I was watching that stream while I was in a car, I was like, okay, time to go on the Ramen Toys website and get that fabled, so much cheaper Ramen Racer. This was $300 after shipping. Okay, this was not cheaper. The Haslab was $350 and it came with 4 figures, or possibly 5. Oh, that's another thing. We didn't get the unmasked head, but that's fine. All right. So here's the thing. This still cost me $300. This whole setup together is $328. That's not that much cheaper than Haslab. If you include the $80 spent on Mephisto, the $25 and $50 for the other 2 figures, that was way more money. And having the Ramen Racer in hand, what do I think of it? The Hasbro one would have been more playable. The Ramen Racer is very nice, but it's indie toy nice. The Hasbro one would have been a little bit more plug and play, maybe like the Ghostbusters Ecto 1, where you plug in the power or you put in the batteries and you flip a switch and everything lights up. With this thing, you get sound effects and you get lights on the interiors when you either hook up a battery in the trunk or plug it into a USB-C. I don't feel like doing that on this video because honestly it's just kind of generic car sounds, and it lights up the interior lights and then it lights up the headlights. And the headlights here actually do have these sliding covers to slide them open, which I think is really cool. And it does light up, it's neat. The fire though, because I'll talk about this in a moment, the Ramen Racer is like modular. All the fire parts have to have 3 LR44s each, and you have to turn them on and off individually. And so for this one, you have 5 fire pieces, right? So if you want all the fire lit up on this, you're going to have, what is that, 15 LR44s installed and then turn them all on individually, and then you have to power the car on top of it. The Hasbro one would have just been one switch, turns everything on, and then they had like the light up gimmick in the back of the headrest. That would have been nice. But as is, the matte finish scares me because I feel like it's going to scratch at any moment. And this also had an issue with these back rear ones. The first set I got, the holes were too tight and they snapped the pegs on these. I contacted Ramen Toys. They sent me out a set of 4 replacement battery covers and 4 replacement hubcaps, and I replaced them. I also drilled out the holes a little bit to make sure they were wide enough, and now I can pull the fire on and off as I wish. Shout out to Ramen Toys customer service. They sent that along real quick, so I appreciate that. Now, the thing with the Ramen Racer is that it was designed not just to be a Ghost Rider thing. So this engine block is removable, the fire is removable. You can get a set that gets you normal tires or fire tires, and that was the thing that made the price expensive. The base car was cheaper than the Haslab proportionally, but to get all the fire add-ons, that was going to cost more money. They have like alternate bumper pieces like this, which have like removable headlight covers and stuff. There's a lot of extra pieces. I got the Inferno edition because I was like, well, if I'm getting a Ghost Rider and there's no like Robbie to go in the car without being Ghost Rider, then I don't need the non-fire version. So I got the car, right? So I've got a third-party car. I've got my actual Ghost Rider because I did not want this car without him. This is the part I needed. So I haven't tested this yet. Does he actually fit? Does the final production figure fit inside the Ramen Racer? I haven't tested it till now. Also, side note, the seat does slide forward and back because it slides forward and bends down so you can access the back seat, which is nice. I don't think I can fit Blade and a Man-Thing head back there like in the Avengers run, but hey, at least got that. So here we go. Moment of truth. Can we fit, because I'm a little bit worried about the fire height on him. Can we fit him in the car? Is he going to fit in the car that I bought specifically to fit him? And let's see. Oh, it's going to be tight. He made it. He made it. All right, I'm going to get this situated off camera so he's actually holding the steering wheel. All right, so because the interior has like foot pedals for the gas and acceleration, I bend his knees a little bit, arch his back just to kind of get him in there. And then that way there's enough clearance for the fire, and then his hands can grip the wheel. Close them up. There we go. Look at that. Look at that. He's in the car. You can't see it. I kind of like him hunched over a little bit because it does look like he's driving manically. You can't have him drive casual because it's just, if you want his hands on the steering wheel, he can't really drive casually just because of the height of the hair. And that's why the Haslab was going to include the alternate fire hair piece so he could kind of sit back and drive a little more casual. But I like it. I like it a lot. It looks good. I think it looks fun. I think it looks really fun. And you know what? I wonder too, I kind of forgot this part of the history, is I do wonder if the figure finally came out this year because he's on the starting lineup of Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls, and he's actually leading one of the teams, the Samurai Outriders. And if that was the thing that got it, you know, it wasn't Midnight Suns, but if that's what we finally got this year because the Marvel team heard, oh, he's going to be in a game, let's put him in, or even if it wasn't that, if they were just like, it's just time. Thank you, Hasbro. Thank you, Hasbro Marvel Legends team. We could have never seen this figure again. And I kept saying this after every stream reaction. I was like, man, if they just released the Ghost Rider, I know where to get a car. So I've got my complete experience now, right? I've got my Ghost Rider Robbie Reyes in his car. If I want to make it light up, I can. And on top of that, he can ride alongside the other Ghost Riders. Here's Cosmic Ghost Rider, right? Here's Danny Ketch. Here's the classic Johnny Blaze. There we go. Look at that. It's basically most of the way to Ghost Racers. I just need a Ghost Rider 2099. If you want to swap in modern Johnny, kind of fits color scheme-wise a little bit better. You know, need a Ghost Rider 2099. Need Alejandro Jones Ghost Rider. They don't have to come with their bikes. I know they're more obscure, but it'd be nice if they did. And I'd be really, really pleased. Got all my Ghost Riders. This is great. It feels great to finally have him to go in the car, because I got the car about a month ago, and I was like, all right, well, whenever that figure comes in, I hope he fits, and he fit. Now I've got my running of the Ghost Riders here. Before we wrap up, another really cool thing with Robbie Reyes' Ghost Rider is he can actually ride outside of the car and still have the car driving, and it always looks cool as hell no matter where it's at. I'm happy. I have reached a conclusion of a saga that's been going on for a long time, and I think I made it pretty clear in this video why this figure means a lot to me, why this character means a lot to me, why this means a lot to me, and it was worth the investment for me. And you know what? That's what it matters, right? Is that personal feeling, that personal connection with the toy. It's more important than just the toy itself. And I'm just glad that it finally happened. You know, like I've seen, there's been so much discourse since the Haslab and everything, but we got to the end of the journey now. I got my Ghost Rider, I got my car, I'm satisfied. I'm good, I'm happy. If Marvel Legends dies tomorrow, which hopefully it doesn't, I'm fine. I've got my #1 most wanted figure now. There are plenty of other figures I do want, but none to this level. None to this level. And so we'll see what Marvel Legends does in the future. I'm sure I'm going to get excited about new X-Men figures. I want more X-Men 97 stuff with the new season and everything. But none of them are to this level. And that's kind of the point of this video, is that I got this. And this means that everything after this is just extra. So that does it for my video about the last Marvel Legend I need. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit the like, subscribe, and the notification bell. Appreciate all that. Leave any comments down below. Also be sure to you know, keep up with the channel by following the Discord server in the link below. You can also join as a channel member. Get perks like early access to videos, member exclusive shoutouts, and more. Let's give some special shoutouts to some of our channel members. Special shout out to all of our channel members, including these Captain Tier members: Spin-54, Forever1000, Master Ben 95, Super Shaddix Boom, Veloquince, Mr. Smelly Potato, Alt Mode Archive, Alice James. Thank you all for your support of this channel, viewers and channel members alike. If you so wish, I'm on social media on Blue Sky and Letterboxd at Soundout12. You can find Wonderful Graphic Designer on social media and Discord at DarkClaw643. And you can find Hero Club at hero-club.com for entertainment, news, and comic reviews, and more. And until next time, this is Soundout saying thanks for going along this little bit of a personal journey, and I'm happy that we finally reached the end of this saga.